learned two things from that. One, I apparently want to date a grandfather, because that, like, multi-layered gift thing sounds really good. And two, I noticed we don't have someone as a Toastmaster next week, so if you're really starving for that touch love, you get to shake about 20 people's hands during a case of this. Sit in the front, you might get some extra touch love. Just throwing it out there for you for next week in case you want to change the role before the end of the meeting. Alright, well, speaking of another lovely man, our next speaker is giving speech number 5, How the Body Speaks, the Body Speaks, and his speech is entitled The Wild, I'm getting so terrible, I apologize. The
Wonderful World of Aging.
Of course.
Aging is weird. You wait. God, or whatever deity that you believe in or don't believe in willing, you're going to find out. And you're going to get the opportunity. Now I realize that there'll be all kinds of medical miracles and all kinds of cosmetic structures so that when you get to be 67 years old, or you get to be 77 or 87 years old, you may still look like you're 40. Let me tell you, inside, you will be that person who has on their internal odometer 80 years. And it's amazing, I look at things, because where we are in this particular culture, at this particular way, bodies change as they age. Gravity happens. All of us. Things that you wouldn't really realize. The things that we take for granted. Like urination. I thought of, okay, let's say that I take a balloon and I inflate it and deflate it 100,000 times. At about 90,000 times, it's not going to have the same kind of elasticity as it did in the first 10,000 times, which can cause some consternation when, after having stood at the pot and had a perfectly reasonable experience, suddenly finding that the stream is bifurcated. It doesn't matter which way you turn, there's going to be a mess. They never tell you this. Nobody talks about these things. I'll tell you another thing that they don't talk about, nobody told me about anyway, was the things that you do and the etiquette at a doctor. I have certain spots that have come up. They call them age spots. And so these are coming up, and I have a mole on my back, and so I talked with my wife, and let's go to the dermatologist just to make sure, and made an appointment at the VA with a dermatologist and went in. And after the nurse takes my records down, she hands me a gown and says, undress, and the doctor will be right in. And leaves. Now when she said undress, I'm wondering, does she mean all the way? Wow, how far do it go? I don't know, I'm there, let's try it. And I sit there, and I'm sitting there in a paper gown, waiting, and this nice woman walks in, Dr. Shepard, and she sits down and she looks at all my skin and looks around and says, well, those are just old man barnacles. Don't worry about it, you're doing just fine. Now, you said you had something on your back. Let's see your back. So I turn around and I hear, whoa! Hold on a second. I gotta get a chaperone. goes out and she brings in this 20-something nursing student woman and says, okay, now we have her in here. Turn around. And I do. And she looks and looks and she said, well, all right, as long as you're here and you've gone this far, let's just make sure, let's look between your cheeks. Now I'm trying to think, how is that nursing student going to get this image out of her by this evening? Did she possibly sign up for this? I have so much of a greater appreciation for last things. The things that may never come again. I'm obsessed with looking at every day at the obituaries in the paper and seeing how many of them I am older than. And I know some of these people got up in the morning thinking, you know, I'm going to do this today, and no. They didn't finish whatever it was, and it's going to happen to me, so and this is okay to talk about it. I know I'm going to go through the same thing. So I have an appreciation, you know, for that. This could be my last cup of coffee. Oh, and man, it really tastes good. That last sunset. The last erection. There's a special quality to it. Something of knowing this may never come again. Nor may I. And I can say to my wife, hello, my dear, I've gotten you something. I made it myself. It's a wide, wonderful world, and I won't even accept that, looking on the other side of it, that perhaps it is, you know, better than an alternative, because I don't know. But all I know is that as long as I get to spend the time with you, and I get a chance to have these open-hearted, lovely conversations, I'm going to stick around and see how this thing ends.
Well, thank you, Dennis, for that alternate gift of self that you told us about. Perhaps if you took a picture, then you could save it. The last